Welcome to actually slightly longer Bible reading this morning, but an equally short reflection as per usual to accompany our Wednesday morning communion service on the 27th of January 2021. I hope this finds you well. So our reading this morning, a familiar reading taken from Mark chapter 4, verses 1 to 20. Again, Jesus began to teach by the lake. The crowd that gathered around him was so large that he got into a boat and sat out on the lake, while all the people who were along the shore of the water's edge listened. He taught them many things by parables, and in his teaching said, "Listen, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he scattered the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so that they did not bear grain. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up, grew, and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, some 100 times. Then Jesus said, "Whoever has ears to hear, let him hear." When he was alone, the 12 and the others around him asked about the parables. He told them, "The secret of the kingdom of God has been given to you. But to those on the outside, everything is said in parables, so that they may be ever seeing, but never perceiving, and ever hearing, but never understanding, otherwise they might turn and be forgiven." Then Jesus said to them, "Don't you understand the parable? How then will you understand any parable? The farmer sows the word. Some people are like seed along the path, where the word is sown. As soon as they hear it, Satan comes and takes away the word that was sown in them. Others, like seed sown on rocky places, hear the word at once and receive it with joy, but since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Still others, like seed sown among thorns, hear the word, but the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful. Others, like seed sown in good soil, hear the word, accept it, and produce a crop, some 30, some 60, some 100 times what was sown. So, if you'll excuse the pun, so the parable of the sower. Such a well-known parable, and whenever I hear this, I think of the TV broadcasters. Why? Because the sower in this parable would broadcast, simply scatter his seed all around. In broadcasting, some seed falls on different forms of ground, some with rocks in it, some with weeds, some with soil, but there's not much depth. The imagery explores how different people respond to the complex issue of faith. For some, the cares of the world make following Jesus too high a price to pay. For some, they understand the notion of faith, but during difficult times of life, that faith ebbs away as the roots of faith cannot go deep enough. Of course, there is good soil, and once seed enters good soil, so it is able to grow well and produces a really good crop. In fact, to a level of growth that in normal times would simply not be possible. 100% increase in what has been sown. So there's something very special, significant going on here. Faith, the parable is portraying, can be that abundant, that life affirming, that positive an experience. I guess many will understand and value the parable simply for what it is. Faith, belief in Jesus offers such a positive experience of life. Perhaps a rhetorical question to ask yourself at this point. When the growth return is so significant, what are you doing to get the stones, the weeds out of the way? What are you doing to give your own faith as good an opportunity as possible to grow and to be fruitful? That is the question about how we value faith stories that encourage you to know more about Jesus, that encourage you to pray, to read God's story more. Faith is an interesting thing. Here we have Jesus saying that the secret of the kingdom of God has been given to you, the disciples. But to those on the outside, everything is said in parables, so that they may be ever seeing but never perceiving, and ever hearing but never understanding. Otherwise they might turn and be forgiven. The dynamic going on here is that if you don't get faith, kind of don't understand what's going on in the parable, then you'll not understand what faith is about. Faith is only possible if your eyes have been opened to understand that. And then Jesus bluntly says to his disciples, his closest followers, don't you understand the parable? Are you still blind? Jesus does then go on, though, to explain the parable to his disciples. Now, I find this part of Mark's version of the parable complex. On one hand, faith in Jesus is intuitively possible, as simple as that. Yet almost in the same breath, faith can also be explained to people because it's more complex. One thing this says to me is that faith, belief in God, is not simply about us wanting to reach out to God. Rather, it is about us recognizing that God has first reached out to us, and we either see that intuitively, recognize that straight away, or we can learn from others quite what we need to look for and to recognize that God does reach out to us, and therefore we can then respond to him. The thing is to do what we can do to get the soil right. Once we begin to get the soil right, then we will begin to see the crop of faith grow in our own lives, and we'll find peace with God as a result. So if you'll excuse the pun again, a familiar story told by Jesus to begin to explore how faith in Jesus can and should work. For me, this is about recognizing that Jesus has reached out to us. That seed has been sown in us, thrown towards us. And however we see that, either intuitively or through learning about this, we can respond to Jesus and encounter the peace he offers us in a fruitful way. So enjoy the parable of the sower and ask yourself what your response to this parable is. Ask yourself what you may do to get these weeds and rocks out of the way, and may you experience Jesus' peace offered to you at this time.